Hey everyone, Mrhappy here, and welcome to Mondays with Mrhappy, aka Mrhappy Mondays, a weekly Q&A show where you ask me questions and I answer them. I am pooped, y'all. I think as soon as all the media tour information came out, I think my brain just took the constant work mode I was in for that entire couple of weeks and just completely flushed out of my system, because for the past 2 days, Thursday, I was on the high from it releasing. Friday, I winded down a bit. Saturday, I had to take off of streaming. It was just such a deflation, just releasing my brain, almost as if in preparation for the fact that I'm about to be in that mode again very, very soon. So I'm going to be aiming for a shorter Q&A. Last one's was 32 minutes, including this intro scene. I'm going to aim for about 30 to 35 minutes after the intro scene. So probably closer to 40 minutes as a whole, because I am still just mentally wiped. I also just watched the Xbox and PC Gamer, or PC Gaming show, I suppose, from PC Gamer. And that had me there's a ton of really cool things there, but collectively, all of that on top of my already lower energy, really killing me. I did restart Elden Ring today, and I was like, oh, I'm going to do it more like a casual playthrough, because I don't really remember. Bro, I started remembering everything immediately, and now I'm running around the map picking up smithing stones. I was like, yeah, I think I remember this there, that there, and then this there. I went and beat a bunch of random bosses just right out the gate. Just all right, yeah, well, maybe it won't be as casual, but I will get my new save file caught up to where I need to be for the DLC pretty quick. And given that it's 12 days away from when I'm recording this, 11 from when you see it, probably a good idea. So with that, let me get into the Q&A. I'm sure there's going to be quite a few on this one, and quite a few for next week's, especially because we have a live letter coming this Friday. So yeah, thanks to everyone for tuning in. Thanks to the sponsors over on Patreon for supporting. Nobody has to support any extra. All my content's free on YouTube, so as long as you enjoy that, we're good. But there's always the options for extra things, whether it's affiliate links in the description or what are the hype chat, super chat, whatever it's called on YouTube, and then memberships and all that other stuff. It's just then Patreon. So many options nowadays. It's exhausting for me. I can only imagine what it's like for all of you. So anyway, let's get into the Q&A. Hashtag Mondays with Mrhappy. Hi, hello, and well met, Mrhappy. Hello to you too. Hope you're doing well. Exhausted, but thank you. I'm sure you've already gotten a question about the Black Mage changes, but I wanted to come at it from a different angle. I don't play Black Mage, but as an outsider looking in, I find the non-standard rotation interesting. Not in terms of the rotation itself, but the sort of space it occupies in the Black Mage community as a form. I see you meant to type the word, but there's an extra space there. Form of skill expression. My questions are as follows. 1. Do the developers have a duty to preserve non-standard or alternate rotations when making changes to job actions? No. That is, I want to be very clear. They have absolutely zero duty to preserve something like non-standard. It's built on top of an incredibly jank system that prevents us from having a lot of other things. Now, to be fair, I don't think they're going to decouple this from, let's say, the MP tick and then change that entire system to make things like dots more possible in Final Fantasy. That is a theoretical thing they could do, hence a reason why they wouldn't want to. I don't think they'll ever do that. I just think they want to decouple it from something as strange as the MP tick. But whenever they're making a job, they have to kind of be able to balance the power along the idea of what it is that they consider standard. And as soon as there's something non-standard, then if anything, they either have to make it so that's not possible anymore, or have to completely rebalance the job. Sometimes they're really simple things. Great example, when Ninja first released in 2.4, they didn't balance the job, and this is going to blow your mind. They didn't balance the job around the idea of using Huton before a pull. I kid you not. They had to do a balance patch just because of the pre-pull Huton and how it actually affected their overall performance throughout the fight. So that's crazy to me. But something like that, they're oh, the players did something out of expectation, and now the job is wildly stronger than we anticipated. We have to rein it in, even if we're not going to change that thing. But more so, they just never have a duty to preserve something that's outside of the scope of their original intended power level slash design philosophy. And they never will with any job. So if you're someone who finds something non-standard on any other job, it's up in the chopping block, it's always going to be. 2, is there any history or unique story behind the development of non-standard? It's just people figuring out how to play the job and understanding it to its maximum. And I get it. I get why losing it's a thing, but nobody should be surprised that something based on the MP tick, something that was solely based on the MP tick, was ever going to survive forever. Like that, they should have always known that was going to be on the chopping block. And 3, if you were to give advice to a black mage who wanted to provide critique on these changes, do you think they should focus on trying to revert back to the mana tick system? No. No, I don't. No. Now, I will say this. If they ever completely revamp the way mana ticks work, yes. But not on the way that it's done currently. Like, if mana tick is something that is at least a little more reliable to play around and is more consistent with the timeline of your job, aka more standard, then yeah, sure, they can go back to it. But I think there are a few cracks they need to maybe buff out when it comes to the black mage changes, but not go back to that. I don't think that's the play no matter what. Hashtag Mr. Until Monday 3 Dawn Trails with Happy. Breaks my brain's already fried. I didn't need that this week. Hola, how are you and the cats? 3 extra hellos for those who miss them. Hey, we've already got like 7 hellos and 2 questions, but thank you and hello. Also, to clarify for last week, I wasn't saying for you to get the catnip. It was for, yeah, but I have to get it to give it to them and they don't like it. So there's that. 2 questions. Number 1, how do you deal with the inevitable frustration that comes with raiding? I've been with groups with garbage DPS on top of groups that just taking weeks for P5. I hold a pretty high standard to the type of group that I'm even willing to join in the first place. I've been playing so long, I kind of have the ability to do that, whereas people who are kind of newer to Final Fantasy XIV rating or maybe don't have like a high tier pedigree, like they don't have a track sheet, I suppose. They don't really have as many options. They kind of have to do a lot of natural ladder climbing in order to get to the point where they can be a little bit more selective. I always get frustrated, but I get as frustrated with myself as I do anyone else. It's literally just about constantly saying, like, you can be frustrated that a situation is occurring. You can be frustrated at an individual, or you can be frustrated at the entire thing. And if you're frustrated at the entire thing, I honestly am in favor of just separating yourself from the situation. I've done this before where I've been like, this is a terrible environment to be raiding in. It's not fun. It's it's kind of depressing. And there's no sense of, like, if literally all the boxes are being unticked, I have no problem just walking away from a raid group. Like, you can't prioritize, like, the group over literally being depressed. You know what I mean? So with me, it's just about, how do I channel? Is it something that's like, okay, yeah, like right now we're in a bit of a slump, but I've seen us when we're on fire and I know we just got to pull back to it. Or is it a matter of like, there's literally nothing that's going to improve, and I'd seriously rather start from scratch than continue on the path that I'm currently on. There's a lot of options to weigh, and I don't think there's any one way to handle it. And 2, unreal question. When you clear for the week, I know you can get a retell to re-clear. Is there a limit? Yeah, you can only get 1 retelling. So don't try to get my rule is on the first board, get the swords immediately. Then, if you can figure out where the fox could potentially be, go for it. If you don't care about even trying for the fox, then try to get the box in 2. If you don't find the box in your next 2 guesses, then you've lost the box overall as well. So then you might as well use the last 3 to try to find the fox. On the second one, you want to know where the sword is, but you don't want to unveil it. Then you want to find the box, use that, like complete that, and then look for the fox. And if you get the fox in 1 try, then you can go back and finish the sword. But that's like the sword, the box, and the fox is the dream. And I've had it happen a couple times recently, but you can't ever bank on getting all 3. Hashtag Mondays with Mr. Happy. Hi, Haps. Hi. And an extra hello in case anyone forgot. So far, we're good. Everyone's got extra hellos on the side. My question is about the flow of Pictomancer. I heard one person say the rhythm of the job felt similar to Old Summoner. No. I think they were talking about the mix of longer, shorter casts with some instance to weave between. No. It doesn't feel anything. All it is like you're just kind of like figuring out what your timings need to be. Like, if you know I need to have this drawn before this moment, then you're looking at the fight and figuring out when the moment to draw actually is. Is the boss targetable the whole time? Great. When's the time where the boss is doing next to nothing? And I'm not like worried about overcapping gauge, and I'm not too close to the window to make it happen. Like that's what you're looking to do. It's all about timing of when you're actually going to stop and draw all of these extra spells. You got to make sure that there's no buffs up. You got to make sure that there's no major mechanic and you don't have swift cast. It's all down to fight knowledge. And I think with that regard, it's closer to feeling like Black Mage, which Makes sense because as the other non-raised DPS in the caster role, kind of important that it has some of that similar decision making. Hashtag no, I'm Mr. Happy Mondays. No, I'm happy. What's happening with the haps? Hey, what's up? The Q&A is going to be a banger. I hope you're rested and fed. Fed, yes. Rested, questionable. So bullet question, blitzball. Hey, we know that's not happening. Dragoon defensive. We know that's not happening. 1,000 fish deep. How many have purpose? No idea. I don't fish outside of ocean fishing. Machinist AoE. Why? Who knows? Remove blue colors from the green channel. I don't know what that means. Summoner caught a stray. No, it didn't catch anything, and that's the problem. Hashtag Happy Dawn Trail Mondays with I'm happy. Hello, good Saya. I greatly appreciate your videos with the breakdown of the new job actions. Missed a few things like Grassa being AoE, but overall, yeah, pretty good. With Viper and Picto being the new jobs, can you give us a basic overview on how to read the tooltips and tie efficient combos together? Just if it says it combos off of stuff, you got to remember with Viper, you don't even need to think about it because the combo actions are all part of the same button and there's dotted lines for everything. And Pictomancer's kind of the same deal. Like there's not really reading the tooltips and tying efficient combos together. There's your opener and what you're doing between your opener and reopener. And that's all there really is. Like the combos per se are like, all instantly tied together. But as long as you're AoEing in dungeons and making sure that you remember to paint your motifs when the boss isn't doing anything during bosses, then that's kind of like a bare minimum. And Viper, it's literally just, are you doing single target? Are you doing AoE? It's a glass cannon job, and there's not much difference between the two. So just make sure you have a good place for your single target and AoE equivalents because they're exactly the same. Hashtag Mondays with missed it? R and T are next to each other on the key. I had to check. You'd think I know what a keyboard looks like now. Hope you're doing well. Hello, Mr. Happy. Hi. Hope you're doing well. You too. 4 quick questions. Sorry, getting greedy here. 1, what advice would you give? War advice, see? And what? Dude, the R and the T are your mortal enemy right now. I've done that plenty before. What advice would you give players who are experiencing fear of missing out and that their MSQ journey may be slower with the higher level players focusing on Dawn Trail? That there's trusts and that the higher level players have to do roulettes and you'll get there eventually. And that's really all there is. 2, while nothing has been mentioned, do you think the level cap increasing to 100 would bring new abilities to jobs in 14 or an increase? Wait, do you think with the level cap I'm not even sure I understand. We know there's new abilities and potency. That's what all the media tour stuff was for. I think Dawn Trail will restore 14 as an MMO instead of you're still going to have trusts and everything. And it is an MMO. I mean, plenty of people play together. It's just they spent a lot of time focusing on MSQ soloing, and you'll still largely be able to do that in Dawn Trail. It'll just be, you'll have other activities as well. What advice would you give players that haven't finished or made it to Endwalker yet when it comes to being told something is side content or just skip it or do it solo at max level? I think with Coil, you 100% skip it. Everything else has a normal mode. Just don't do extreme trials. That's it. You're never going to find in a reasonable period of time groups to do extreme trials. Even if you get the mentor roulette, those are a disaster about 80% of the time when it comes to extreme trials. I've seen really easy successes in Ultima Extreme and maybe some of the Realm Reborn extremes, but for the most part, it's a disaster and not worth doing. But nobody says to not do Omega or anything. Would I prioritize it? No. But should you not do it or solo it at max? No, you just do normal mode. Binding Coil is the only thing because normal mode is savage difficulty. Everything else is not. So as long as you're not doing extreme or savage, then that's really all that matters because you're not going to find groups to queue in and do those in Raid Finder or Duty Finder at level. You're just not going to. So it's just skip coils, come back to that, and then everything else you can do as you go if you really want. Hashtag Mondays with Mr. Happy. Ayo, Haps. Hello. Recently got my DSR clear. Nice. Congratulations. Now begins re-clears for all weapons. There's so many people who cleared DSR on top way after me, but have way more weapons than me because I've made no effort to go back to either of them. Since it's post-media tour embargo, which job are you most excited to get your hands on first once DT launches? Well, I'm playing Viper because I'm cosplaying as Viper, so what I want doesn't really matter. I'm thinking about things logically. I'm leveling Viper because of my cosplay. That's it. I'm not even leveling it because I'm going to raid on it, endgame it. Doesn't matter. Just because of the cosplay. After that, I need to get all 3 Fizz ranges leveled, and then I need a healer and a tank and a caster, which I'll probably make, Scholar, so I can technically knock 2 birds out there. Although actually, no, I'll probably do Astro, then probably Paladin, and then Pictomancer. is what I'll realistically do. But like, I don't have a choice. I can't even be particularly excited about one or the other because I'm going to level them all, but I have to level certain ones by a certain time frame. So I got to be quick about that. Any fun stories you can share of any shenanigans that happened? No, there's some. I mentioned some fun things on State of the Realm, but we were just all chilling and just kind of glad to hang out with each other. This one didn't have a hashtag, but I saw the word greetings, so I figured it might have a question. Greetings, Happy, and happy Monday. Hello, first time, long time, etc. Welcome, and thank you. I've been playing since 2.0, and I finally dipped my toe into raiding and cleared the last panda tier while it was current, not pre-echo for P12S, but we tried our best. I main white mage, but I've been wondering if it is worth it to learn how to play other healers to have some flexibility based on what is better for any given fight. Something you would recommend? I would recommend you do this regardless of your role. Like, if you only play one tank, I'd recommend learning how to play more than one tank. If you only play one DPS, I'd recommend learning how to play more than one DPS. Healer, same deal. Sage Scholar. Yeah, I think Sage Scholar is going to be pretty strong if they stay exactly as is right now. So double shield might actually be a thing, which is, means white mage and Astro maybe get some buffs, but we also don't know the end potencies of everything. Like, we only know what the Mediator potencies were. So it's, there's no way of knowing exactly how it's going to pan out. But yeah, I would recommend this for anyone to not be a one job Andy. Hashtag Mondays with Mr. Happy. Well met, Mr. Happy. Hello. Happy early Independence Day. Happy almost a month early, and actually it's a little less than a month early Independence Day. I'm not going to do anything on Independence. I can't remember the last time I gave a fuck about July 4th, but thank you. Like, just thinking about it, it's like, oh, right, yeah, July 4th, that exists. You know what July 4th is? You know how I know I'm getting older? I sure hope there's no fireworks. I hope these darn kids aren't lighting these fireworks while I'm busy. Anyway, is there a preferred time you like going to the gym? If so, why? Yeah, after stream, because I'm not going at 6 in the morning before stream. So that's really it. Hashtag Mondays with Mr. Happy. Hello. Hi. In State of the Realm, you mentioned playing Pictomancer in one of your dungeon playthroughs. Did you capture footage? If so, plans to release it? I mean, I did, but in fact, you can see some of it in the Pictomancer video that I put out. But I mean, there's not much a reason for me to release. Like, it's just me using the same. It's actually me using less Picto abilities than you see in the rest of the video because it's not a max level dungeon. So no, I didn't have any intentions of releasing just me playing Pictomancer in a dungeon. I mean, it's just, you know what the Pictomancer skills are. You know how a dungeon is done. It's 2 and 2 together, I guess. Hashtag Mr. Happy Monday. Howdy. Hi. Any plans for the big number 500th Mondays with Mr. Happy? My plan is to do an episode for 500. Ambitious, I know. Also, what kind of job role do you hope Beastmaster will fall into? I don't think it matters. Like, Blue Mage is a caster, but it's also all of them. So I'd imagine Beastmaster would be the same. Maybe it's Fizz range, maybe it's melee, but it's going to be able to do all of them most likely. So I guess I don't really care because it's still going to be a limited job at the end of the day, in all honesty. Hashtag Mondays with Mr. Happy. Hello, hi, and good tidings. Happy probably really long post-media tour, Mr. Happy Monday. Probably not as long as you think, because I am blasting through some of these. With the changes coming to Monk, where they're taking away effects of the basic combo and giving the Monk the basic combo trait upgrade post-90, how do you expect that will affect Monk and Ultimates and lower-level content? Presumably, the combo trait doesn't carry to the lower-level content. You just lose the buffs and cool animation. I mean, you'll lose the animations, but the job will still function the same. You'll still, the whole way the gauge works is not like a 90 to 100 thing. Only the upgrade to the skills are 90 to 100. But the whole idea of buffing, like Boot Shine is your buffed skill at lower levels. You don't just not have a buffed skill anymore. It's not like the buff makes you do Leaping Oppo. It's just Boot Shine is now Leaping Oppo. That's all that happens. So it's going to play exactly the same at the earlier levels. You just won't have the new animations plus the Fire's Reply and Wind's Reply. Hashtag Mondays with Mr. Happy. Hi, Happy. Hi. How you doing? Doing all right. Tired as heck, though. I hope you enjoyed your time during the media tour. I did. And all the time afterwards with the editing. Anyway, I was wondering what you think about my thought of Pictomancer, because Pictomancer is based more around the creature motifs, the second highest potency being black paint, and the fact that hammers are guaranteed crit direct hits. Pictomancer benefit with a speed build over a crit build. So you got to remember, crit as a stat also gives you crit damage. When you have guaranteed crits, crit damage is a pretty high scaling stat. Like, you normally have to weigh the option, like the opportunity of getting a crit versus the crit damage increase, and like that determines the power. When you're just guaranteed crits, crit damage scaling is very, very good. Now, because not everything is an automatic crit direct hit, crit's still going to be really good. Now, what may happen is determination over direct hit. I'm going to leave that to the math people, but that wouldn't surprise me to see determination go over direct hit. I wouldn't be surprised if there's an optimal spell speed tier that isn't just base cast speed, but I don't think you're going to be seeing like a Black Mage style spells. And and another thing to remember, a lot of people know about spell speed Black Mage. It's not the ideal Black Mage build as it is. It's an option, and thus maybe spell speed Picto is an option. But compared to getting what is quite literally one of the most, and potentially two, although again, I think determination might outscale it because of the hammer. Oh wait, no, didn't they update direct? See, this is where I always forget things. Yeah, because I think direct hit on actions also. Oh well, no. Skills that guarantee direct hits, but the stat doesn't. Right. Yeah, now it's coming back to me. Or buffs like Battle Voice, for example. That affects things like the hammer, not the actual stat. Okay, no, we're good. I remembered how it actually functions. Because it's been a long time since I've had to think about it. No, I think that the strongest build will probably still be crit first, then followed by probably determination. But who knows? I'm not the guy who does the math stuff, so that'll be up to them. Hashtag Mr. Happy Mondays. Hi, Haps. Hi. How are you? Good, hopefully. Yeah, like I said, tired, though. As an OCE player on servers which are sometimes as desolate as the Outback, how do you think SC can encourage players to play on servers in their region rather than servers their friends are on? It's quite a short-term issue, especially with their ever-looming cross-region data center travel and cloud servers. Do you think anything else needs to be done, or do you think it'll sort itself out? I mean, it's one of those... Everyone's already gotten used to playing with a group of people and playing with a diverse group of people, that just offering the ability to play back like in the region that's closest is kind of not good enough, because the people who are already playing with good ping are not going to leave to play with worse ping. And the people who are playing with bad ping are, if they go home to play with just their own ping, they have to abandon all those friends. It's one of those that just came after the fact. And at this point, it's a little too late. Like when Europe was in North America in terms of latency, it was one thing. And then when Europe went back to, when Europe finally was actually an EU data center, they didn't have as much of an issue going back. But I feel like that's because Europe has like such a huge volume of players compared to, let's say, OCE, for example. So they were able to fill in that space. They created communities on specific servers. And technically, there were EU data centers. They were just located in North America. So they had already kind of cultivated. Like, I'll say this. If we, for example, had an OCE data center this entire time on NA, right? And then OCE got actually given a physical space, then it might have gone somewhat similarly. But it's just, I don't think you can sort it out. I think it's just going to be the way that it is forever. I just don't see how you're going to solve that issue unless you force them, which is not good either. Hashtag Mr. Happy Mondays. Hey, Haps. Hi. And an extra hello just in case. A lot of extras today. So I remember you mentioning Viper didn't seem to have enough flash once it got... Oh, no, it has plenty of flash. It does. It's all flash and no substance was my concern with it. Really, they should have gotten an F9 trance-like transformation to make it... You can't even see your character throughout 90% of Reawaken. You're just like a blur on the screen between the GCDs and the OGCDs and the animations themselves. I mean, you could. It just wouldn't have done anything. I just think that Viper is literally all... yeah, that's it. It's all flash and no substance. I think the most substance it has is the number of positionals that it has, oddly enough. But I still think a lot of people will enjoy it. I just don't prefer that type of, like, archetype. You know, where it's just like, oh, I just look so cool and I'm dashing around and it's just, I'm so like agile and crazy. Like, this is not my archetype. It just feels soulless to me. Hashtag Monday with Mr. Happy. Hi. How are you? Doing good. Got a question about the DT traits that upgrade skill potency. Is that an attempt to make DPS check and older ultimate relevant? I don't understand how you draw one conclusion. Your potency is the same now and will be the same at that level that it was that we just did it, and it'll go up at a higher level. There's no correlation between something that only affects level 100 and something that's exactly the same at level 70, 80, and 90. So I don't know. I don't know what the question is really asking. All right, and honestly, I'm starting to get a little bit of just like brain fogginess, so I'm gonna blast through some of the remaining ones here. There's somebody asking about having a tough time with keybinds at level 90, where they're trying to play. It looks like keyboard and mouse on PS5. I mean, trying to get used to. Oh no, mouse clicks on PC. The keybinds are overwhelming since I made it to 90 on PS5. There we go. I mean, that's just practice. I mean, I have an MMO mouse, and I do recommend MMO mice for people playing on PC, but I mean, you just got to practice and experiment with different keybinds. And nobody can tell you what ideal keybinds are. It just never works for everyone. Somebody's asking a question for the third time. And again, I answered this question 2 weeks ago, and it was about Viper's the ability actions being finalized. And then last week, I said, I'm certain I answered that. And that I didn't need to answer it again. And yeah, the Viper-like abilities thing, like, I know I answered this 2 weeks ago. If you just as you didn't hear it, doesn't mean it wasn't answered. I mean, maybe it wasn't. Maybe I'm just misremembering, but I swear I remember answering this. After it was make Pictomancer, and then Viper is just a guy with 2 swords. Yeah, I'm almost certain that I answered this. Okay, one of 2 things happened. Either I answered it, and you missed it 2 weeks ago, because I remember reading it, or I read it and went, I don't even know what to say to this. I'm just not going to answer it. So what you're getting now is the answer. As good as you're going to get. Do you think they'll rename the 50, 60, 70, 80 roulette? No, it's going to be 50, 60, 70, 80, 90. I can feel it. And honestly, at this point, I don't even want it to change. I think they should just keep adding to it because I think it's funny. Let's see. Theme of the next raid will be the tournament arc. Would you be okay with a faction champions boss fight? Faction champ? You mean like a Raoban? I know I don't want to fight Raoban and that. No, I also think the whole tournament arc thing is not. I think it's a false flag kind of deal. I think that's going to be what gets us in there. I don't think that's going to be what keeps us in there. I don't think it's going to be like Omega where we're actually like just progressing. There has to be an actual plot. You know what I mean? The plot can't just be we're trying to be the champions. There has to be like an actual threat that's occurring there. And I think that's more important than whatever the tournament arc is. Why do we only have accessories in the first EX fights? Because they don't want to give 2 different weapons for 2 different fights, and then only one of the fights is relevant. So they make accessories for one, weapons for the other, and then they're both relevant on launch. And then they only release one at a time after that, so only weapons it is. Was asking why some people don't want Vanadil raids to be a reflection. Because Final Fantasy 11 and 14 are not connected. They are not actually connected as games. Like 14 inspired by 11. In fact, that's a big thing with 1.0 and why a lot of the races ended up looking similar is because they were trying to make it easy for people to be like, oh, I play this race in 11. I should play this race in 14. But it just doesn't make sense lore-wise, and there's no way to make it make sense lore-wise. I know a lot of people are hanging on the whole travel to another world thing from the website. I mean, I've said that Vanadil could be a reflection, but traveling to another world has a lot of tangential meanings. Like I said, entering an Echo flashback, going into the past, is still going to another world in a sense. So I'm not taking the language that literally until we actually see what it is we're getting. I think devs should add more long-term goals and achievements. No. And I'll tell you why. Because the ones we have are the most boring designs imaginable. Like 5,000 of this and 10,000 of that and 4,000 of... I think that's stupid. I think it's terrible achievement design. I'd rather have more interesting achievements or more engaging achievements than more longer form. I think you should do a long form one here once in a while, like the ocean fishing one that I did, or the big fish, or collecting triple triad cards. Like, I think those are fine, but ones that take actually 7 years shouldn't exist. I mean, they do, and I'm not saying remove them, but you shouldn't add more of them. Then we had one here. People are doing ultimates away, which weren't intended. Yeah, no heals, death cob, 6-person. Any group would try attempt a community challenge on completing an ultimate with a hardcore HUD. I mean, I know people who play like that normally. Only thing showing in the HUD is the job gauge and the boss cast bar. I know people who play like that. So that's not even a challenge. That's just some people's UIs. So no, I don't think that's much of a thing at all. So if you can see the cast bar, that's all you really need, in my opinion. You think an option for a reduced echo for more rewards? No. Because we can already achieve that without a setting. Like, you just take more gear. Like, I've been doing low item level stuff for months now, and it's like, I don't see a benefit to adding a reduced echo option to get more gear. Because then it also, like, if you're always going to go with that option until, of course, you know your BIS. And by BIS, it doesn't even... And then as you collect gear, you have to scale it up. But how do you determine, like, if I'm going echo minus 15%, but I'm 15% stronger than I was when I was doing echo 5%, or I'm 10% stronger, I guess, then how would they justify the rewards? Like, you'd have to set it to min item level and then echo minus. And some jobs are, I mean, some fights are not clearable like that. Like, or at the very least, it's so, like, even at min item level, some fights are nigh unbeatable without, like, perfect play and crits, like crit luck, because they're just not made for the actual minimum item level to not have any weapon upgrades and not have any gear upgrades at all from the previous things. No materia melts. Like, they're not even made for that. And then to do echo minus, like, they'd have to, the calculations involved to even determine the validity of increasing the rewards is not viable, because you'd have to be strong enough to beat it at any gear level, at which point reducing the echo is meaningless because you can already beat it because you already know the whole fight. So you see what I mean? There's no real benefit towards doing something like that. Did I get into the media tour this year? Well, this was 4 days ago. Wait, that was Thursday. So you would have, all right. Could have, I posted all the videos. Current mouse experience double click issues and it's discontinued. I feel like the way to 14 has been cool. Do you have any advice for finding or adapting to alternative keyboard and mouse controls? No, I need an MMO mouse. I would honestly, if I were you, I'd consider picking up the controller if that's a real concern. I think you could get a lot from just trying out the controller if you don't have an MMO mouse, because if not, you're gonna have to get very dexterous with your keyboard. Now that Summon Remains basically got Final Fantasy VIII, when we asked for Final Fantasy VII for Christmas, hey, that happened to me. One question I have for you who attended the media tour is, are you at all able to give feedback to the dev team? The only dev team that's there is Yoshi P. There's nobody else. And like, if he asks us the question or we bring it up in an interview, sure, but he's not sitting there like, tell me exactly what you think about this, 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 and this. And no, that's not a thing. Like, he's one person, and then to have to convey it all back to everyone. No, they'll just pay attention to the forums and Reddit and whatever else. They'll collect it from there and not go based on what a handful of select people have to say, because we would be a very small opinion compared to the masses that will talk about it after everything comes out, which indeed was the case. Let's see. I have not played Grand Blue since the last two updates. I didn't play 1.2 or 1.3. Picked up a copy of 11. Currently doing the Rhapsody story track. Oh man, you see there's certain expansions that would be great to play through. I honestly think the only two expansions you're going to need are Rise of Xylar and Chains of Promethea. Some people have suggested that maybe Wings of the Goddess you should try. And I think more so than Treasures. Yeah, that's probably a good idea. Rhapsodies, though, I doubt. Iroha is never... You got to remember that collaboration events are not canonical to Final Fantasy XIV, unless Iroha never actually came to Final Fantasy XIV, canonically. As much as some people like to try to say that she did, and they could retroactively change it, it is worth saying, but they've said historically, all collaboration events are non-canon. Even the Noctis thing with Garuda, which we also do in that game, that entire Garuda segment is not canon, which is why Garuda doesn't show up in the end scenes and in any capacity. So there's like a whole mix and mash of things, but the only thing is Rise, Chains, Wings. Those are the three I think are most valuable. Rhapsodies is really cool, and I would recommend doing it, and you should do it because it really helps with your progression through the other ones. But Voracious, no, and I don't think Treasures at all, no. Let's see. So Cat's doing well. I think we'll get 2 ultimates this expansion. Yeah, that was from Atijus. Yeah, I'm pretty confident we'll get 2. Somebody said hi, and that was it. So that was a good use of the hashtag, I suppose. And then there's feel the Doomium discussions. I ignored Doomium discussions because it happens every single expansion, and it's just so meaningless. Now, keep in mind, there's usually some legitimate feedback that comes out of them, but it's not. Sorry, I thought I saw something on my desk, and I'm dumb. It was just dust. Yeah, no, it's no. I just ignore the Doomium and try to look for people who are more level-headed. I regularly mock Doomium as it's more accurate. Let's see. Do you think it's still worth doing? Wait. I know you will say just do it, but many people who work have kids and can't play as much as you do. Do you still think it's worth doing? Oh, somebody's asking me if they should do it side more casual. Can you make a nice little... Don't do content creation because you think you'll make an income. You're probably going to make jack fucking shit. That's it. That's the truth. It's you literally never get into content creation because you think you'll get money, because 99% of the time, nobody's going to recognize you are, because you're doing it for a very clear reason. You're not doing it. You didn't like fall into it and do it. Like you can, once you fall into it and it starts working and you could try to make a living and actually make it somewhat of a small business, even if just on the side, great. But none of us got into it thinking like, I'm going to make some money. I'm going to be like, oh my God, I could make money doing the thing that I love, but I love doing it. And that's first and foremost. You're already in the wrong mentality. So no, you're not a good idea. Planning a trip to Japan this summer. I've only been to Japan once, and Square Enix did all of my itinerary. I have not been to Japan a few times. I've been one time for 4 days, and Square told me where to go, how to go, why to go, who to go. So I have no advice. I'm useless as far as I'm concerned. Let's see. Are the PvP mounts attainable currently, or only available during the Garo? Oh yeah, no, the Garo ones have to be while the Garo collaboration is around. But they are around right now. Specifically the Garo ones. So yeah, you can get them right now. And there's been no announcement of an end date on that. So you're good to go for quite some time. Man, there's so many questions. I'm glad I just started lightning rounding this because I'm way over the amount of time I wanted to do for this episode. I've been maining Bard since 1.0. Well, Bard didn't exist in 1.0, but I know what you mean. Archer at that point. Dancer appears to get more favorable treatment. Do you think the dev team is deliberately nerfing Bard to make Dancer shine more? No. They just have job identities. Bard and Dancer are both like about the same power level. It's just about which one you like playing more. And quite frankly, I find Bard is sometimes a little bit too frustrating to play. So I prefer to play Dancer. Small hitbox is coming back in DT. Do you think that the range tax will also return? To expect it to not go away. Because you said, will it return in DT? We never lost the range tax. That was part of the problem. Now with the smaller hitboxes, they have more justification for it. So expect it to stay the same as it is right now, is the more accurate way to put it. Let's see. Asking about graphics update. What is this? To update the entire game? No. I think they'll update all the NPCs. They said every NPC that uses stock assets is updated. So if you can make a character in the character creator, or a feature is in the character creator, every character that uses those same features will be updated. And also, all of the world is we've seen footage from every expansion at this point of updated graphics. Will absolutely everything be updated? No, but most of the world will be. So you can look forward to all of that. Let's see. Sorry, I'm reading this one that talks about how the forums talk about the game, and it's making me laugh. That was like the very bottom. I think YouTube thought that you were trying to ruin my life. You're like, no, everything you like, I hate. No, you were just repeating what it says on the forums. There was something I skipped past earlier that I wanted to revisit, and I don't remember what it was. I have no idea what it was, but I know I skipped one or two earlier, and I thought, oh, I'll go back to that. Some of them were like I have this idea ones, which I'm always kind of like, thinking whether or not I should skip them. There was a person who didn't have a hashtag, and someone was just asking what data center should they do on in the PF. I just say Ether. Primal used to be the location for ultimates, but Ether is kind of just the universal location for PFing ultimates now. You can do it on Primal still, though. But yeah, no, it's not super important. There was one that, this idea with feedback, if it's a good or a bad idea, and it's just like upgrading 24-mans, or if Criterion could drop weekly. I mean, we've had this conversation for literally years now, and most people agree that, you can do whatever you want with the gear from 24-man because it's already catch-up gear anyway, so who cares? And for Criterion, everyone's been asking for upgrade mats and everything, right? So, like, this is just a conversation that we've had kind of a million times over. And then there's just some stuff about the weapons. There's a lot there. I remember there's just a lot of text, and none of it was really focused. There was like a bunch of questions kind of interweaved within each other in these like giant paragraphs, so I couldn't really focus it down, especially right now. And then I swear there was still one more Someone was asking about macroing a DPS rotation. It was just summoner doomium stuff. They're not going to delete your job, dude. Like, it's kind of a staple job in raiding summoner because of its ease. They're not just going to be like, well, now that you've all gotten used to having a staple job that you all can switch to when you're getting comfortable with the fight, fuck you, we're deleting it. That's not going to happen. Anyway, I think that was the last one. So that's going to be a wrap for this week's episode of Mondays with Mr. Happy. Be sure to like and subscribe, ask your questions for next week's Q&A, and remember, Dawn Trail's pretty soon. Just got 18 more days as of this video. Please look forward to it. Anyway, thanks for watching. I will see you all in the next one. And until then, take care.